Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Wrestling Discussions. On today's episode, we got quite a bit to talk about. A little bit of it regarding that of Monday Night Raw tomorrow night. Monday Night Raw tomorrow night is the 30th anniversary of Monday Night Raw. It is a very special Monday Night Raw, and we have some major matches. But for tonight, I want to talk about some of the returns that we are going to see tomorrow night. Names all the way from Ric Flair and Undertaker, and even a bit of a controversial name, Hulk Hogan, set to return tomorrow night. Now this is obviously, very interesting. Hulk Hogan hasn't stepped foot in the WWE since, well, okay, I can't say that. I'm pretty sure he was there in 2021 at WrestleMania. I'm not sure. We're also supposedly going to see the Bella Twins tomorrow night. Lot of wrestlers supposed to make appearances. That'll be interesting. As far as I'm aware, we were supposed to see Afa and Sika tomorrow night. However, it looks like there was a change of plans. There was supposed to be a bloodline celebration tomorrow night. Instead, that segment was cut and replaced with a Sami Zayn trial. This is interesting because, first of all, I don't think Sami Zayn has done anything other than try and prove himself to the bloodline. And Roman Reigns doesn't, in my opinion, after he forgave Sami for, and apologized to Sami for yelling at him and forgave him for the loss to John Cena and Kevin Owens, I think besides that, he doesn't have anything that really makes him, eligible to question Sami Zayn's actions in the bloodline. And so I think this is going to be a shock to Sami, and he's going to be confused. And it's interesting that this just kind of sprang up. And a lot of people are looking at this segment and they're thinking, okay, this segment was cut for one reason, and one reason only. The Rock's not going to be at WrestleMania. That's what many people are speculating. Many people are saying that The Rock is not going to be at the Royal Rumble. The Rock is no longer going to return. And some people are disappointed in it. Some people are upset because obviously, yes, they had this kind of set up in the sense that it was a Hollywood WrestleMania. Rock versus Roman Reigns in the main event. But let's be honest, how stupid of an idea was that? And on top of that, everyone was saying it's The Rock, right? Like, all the fans and YouTube comment sections was saying, oh, it's going to be The Rock versus Roman Reigns. If you read any news article in the past couple of weeks, everything you would see is that Cody Rhodes has been the number one guy that people have been saying, that, like, actual people backstage in WWE have been saying, it's going to be Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is the guy. Cody Rhodes is set to take on Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. He's going to win the Royal Rumble, that sort of thing. Personally, I have already shot this down. I think The Rock coming back to WWE is stupid. Because if The Rock were to beat Roman Reigns, where would you go from there? It would make more sense for Roman Reigns to beat The Rock. But if Roman Reigns beats The Rock at WrestleMania, then when is Roman going to lose the titles? Because it wouldn't make sense. Because after everyone he's fought, it wouldn't make sense for him to keep the titles. It wouldn't make sense for him to lose the titles at unless it was at WrestleMania, and so, and I don't think The Rock's the right choice for him to lose them to. To be honest with you, I can't see it. I can't see it, and I'm not. I think The Rock is a great wrestler. I love The Rock. I think The Rock is one of the best entertainers of all time. But I think that where they are right now, if they wanted to do this match so badly, then they shouldn't have waited this long, because it's just going to make things more complicated. They should have done it last WrestleMania or even 2 WrestleManias ago instead of Edge and Danielson. That's just my opinion. This is just my opinion. But I think doing Dwayne The Rock Johnson versus Roman Reigns this year would suck. I think it would suck. Honestly, I think it would be terrible. And on top of that, everyone's sad now that that this segment change means that The Rock isn't going to be there. I'm happy. I'm happy because I think that first of all, this segment is going to be important to the bloodline, because on Friday Night SmackDown, Roman Reigns was treating Sami Zayn terrible, and he was, he was ignoring the guy for no reason. He had no reasons to treat Sami like that. And so I think this trial is not going to just be for Sami Zayn. I think it is going to reveal to Sami Zayn just how Roman Reigns and the rest of the bloodline actually feels about him. That's my opinion. That's where I stand. On top of that, this idea and this change in this segment, it's interesting. Because obviously Monday Night Raw is the home of Kevin Owens, right? And so I think it's very obvious that Kevin Owens is going to be there. And I think it's very obvious that Kevin Owens will have some say in this segment, perhaps. Some say in what we might see throughout this segment. And I think this is going to be a show, like a nightly segment. Like, I think this is going to be the same segment we saw all those years ago back when Eric Bischoff was on trial. This is going to be a segment that goes throughout the show, and it cuts, and then we have some matches, and then it goes back to the segment. I think it's going to be one of those things, personally. And I think we got to give it a chance. I understand it's a little, it's out of the blue. It's not what people were expecting. It is a little like, this isn't what we wanted. I get that. But at the same time, give it a chance, we kind of got to give it a chance. Now, on top of that, I recently had heard that, as you know, the Usos are defending the Raw Tag Team titles tomorrow night. They're also going to eventually be defending the SmackDown Tag Team titles within the next couple of weeks. Now, obviously, here lately, they have been defending the Undisputed Tag Team titles as, both titles as the same, not separately. Now it seems to me as though they're doing this to take the titles off of the Usos, maybe? I don't know. But I recently read that one of the reasons that they're doing this is more so just, I think, to prove, to kind of, I guess, maybe bring in more tag teams from Raw. And on top of that, kind of prove that, the Usos can defend the singular titles and still win. I don't know. But based off of that, I think, it kind of changes my judgment in saying that the Judgment Day might win. But I'm not going to give any predictions on the show until tomorrow night, until tomorrow's episode. However, that being said, moving on to a little bit about the Hurt Business, there has been some talk, on wrestling media, and news articles and such, that Triple H wants to bring back the Hurt Business, that Triple H is working on bringing back the faction. In fact, there has been some talk that Bobby Lashley himself has been requesting and pushing for this faction to make a return. Now, I think the Hurt Business was a very interesting dynamic, it was a very interesting gimmick, and I think that if done properly, and that if utilized correctly by Triple H this time round, I think Triple H can do what he did with the Judgment Day, per se, and make a good and genuinely interesting faction. On top of that, I recently saw there was a tweet there was a tweet of a picture that someone had put together. It was captioned, "The future Hurt Business. The people on that photo were as follows: Bobby Lashley, Omos, MVP, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, and 2 new additional members, the Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford." Now, obviously, if the Hurt Business were to get back together, yes, I think it's safe to say Omos would be a member and would be a new addition. However, I'm not so sure about the Street Profits. I think the Street Profits are a great tag team, don't get me wrong. However, I think that they're doing just fine where they are. I don't think they need to go and, wrestle with the Hurt Business. Now, that being said, did the Street Profits just fight Cedric and Shelton? Yes, they did. I will admit to that, they did. However, that being said, I think we could very well see Street Profits stay where they are. I don't think... I understand that that all of this might be a build up to bringing this together as a team and as a faction. Yes. However, that being said, I think the Street Profits, I don't know. I just think, I mean, maybe it could work. I'm not saying it couldn't work, but they're definitely going to kind of have to work on it, and they're definitely going to kind of have to build this up in a way, because I think either way, I think it's safe to say the Hurt Business is going to be heels, and Street Profits aren't used to being heels. You know, this is going to be a new dynamic for them. This is going to be something that they're going to have to, really try their best. I think Montez Ford would make a good heel. And I'm saying that in the sense that he's kind of already been in that position where, he ignored the tag from Kevin Owens a little, I think maybe a few weeks ago. Angelo Dawkins, however, I don't really see Dawkins being a heel. And now, I could be wrong. I'd have to, again, I'd have to see it. But right now, I think Montez would make a good heel, but I think Angelo, I'm not too sure. And I don't think these guys are ready to go singles wrestlers yet either. Personally, basically, bottom line, I don't want to see the Street Profits join the Hurt Business. I think it would be an interesting dynamic, but I think the Street Profits can be just as interesting, just as fun on their own without having that idea of, oh, we need to work with the Hurt Business. I think they're just as entertaining on their own. And personally, I don't really want to see the Hurt Business reunite. I know a lot of people do. I don't. I'm a fan of this Bobby Lashley. I don't want to see Bobby Lashley go back to the Hurt Business and see Bobby Lashley rejoin that and, make this whole new, like this heel turn potentially. I don't know. I like the face, Bobby Lashley, and I'm hoping that if he does rejoin the Hurt Business, I'm hoping that he he kind of talks to everyone and is like, I want to do it this way. I don't want to be the bad guy. Like, I think Bobby Lashley enjoys being the almighty to the fans. He enjoys being a people person, I feel like. Because even when he was, like, WWE champion, he wasn't a heel. Like, he was booed, but I don't really consider him a heel in the sense that he didn't badmouth the people. He always, he usually, like when he beat Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble, he shook hands and he gave high fives and, he did this and that. And he was, he was a very interesting character in that sense because he was someone that, he was someone that, was for the people. And I like that Bobby Lashley. I don't like heel Bobby Lashley because it's too, I don't know, because I think this version of Bobby is a bit of both, and I like this version of Bobby better than I liked any other version so far, and so I'm just gonna say it right now, don't want to really see him turn heel. I don't want to see the Street Profits turn heel yet, and I think Cedric and Shelton may not potentially be turning heel. However, Omos and MVP are. And they're kind of the ones that I think are going to be leading the Hurt Business. And so I think that's something to take a look at later down the line. And I don't know. I'm just not too I'm not too sold on this idea yet. We're just going to have to see what Triple H has in store for us. And I say Triple H because again, it sounds like, Vince McMahon isn't really, there isn't much right now going on in terms of what, him running creative. It looks like Triple H is still in power. Now, moving on, one last topic of the evening. Renee Paquette, married to Jon Moxley. For those of you that don't know, she has her own podcast, recently interviewing Will Ospreay. Now, Will Ospreay, incredible athlete, incredible wrestler. For those of you that aren't aware of this as well, he had a bit of a social media feud with Seth Rollins at one point. And he was asked the question, would you ever wrestle Seth Rollins? Do you think that will ever happen? I personally would love to see Seth Rollins versus Will Ospreay. I would love to see Seth Rollins versus Kenny Omega. I'd love to see Seth Rollins versus any guy in AEW in Japan because I think, honestly, I've said this before, but I think Seth Rollins is one of the best professional wrestlers in the world. Like, genuinely. I think Seth Rollins is as good as Kenny Omega, is as good as Will Ospreay. I think Seth Rollins is one of the most top tier wrestlers. I mean, the dude was ranked #1 for the year of 2022. That you don't just get that. And I mean, the fact that he was ranked over Roman Reigns, over Kenny Omega, over Will Ospreay, that's huge. He was put on #1 at that list. That is the highest you can get. And that's huge. That's amazing. And I think Will Ospreay and Seth Rollins would complement each other very well in the ring. Now, Will has been offered a WWE contract before. He shut it down. Will Ospreay seems to have no interest in going to WWE, and I don't blame him. I think some people, it's for some people, it's not for some people. I think WWE, although being a major trendsetter to professional wrestling, it's also different from other styles of professional wrestling. It's a little more gimmicky. It's a little more, it's different. Whereas Japan and AEW, it's a little more all go and no show at times. Whereas WWE is a little more show, a little less go at times. And so I do kind of understand where wrestlers like Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay are coming from when they say, they don't really ever have any intention of going to WWE. And Will Ospreay did say, WWE obviously, there seems to be some little bits of forbidden door being broken open and little tidbits here, but he said, for it to really happen, the door would have to be a lot wider. He said, for it to really happen, he said, like, right now it's like a little window that I can barely fit through. It's like there's a screen over it, that sort of thing. He said, for it to happen, it would definitely be a couple years, few years. But this is professional wrestling, and you can never say never. You can never just ignore it, because it could very well one day happen. Will Ospreay had even, he gave props to Seth. He said, he's always loved Seth Rollins as the wrestler, even before he was Seth, back when he was Tyler Black. And he said, so I would love to wrestle the guy. I'm just not sure if it's in the cards. So that's interesting. I think Will Ospreay, I think that this could work, and I think it could happen down the line. I think that one day, maybe if Will Ospreay wrestled for some independent show or something like that, or I don't know. I do think though that maybe one day down the line we'll see Seth Rollins versus that of Will Ospreay. But we'll just kind of have to wait and see where everything takes us. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to end tonight's episode. Thank you all for tuning in, as always, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Don't forget, tomorrow night's episode we'll be talking quite a bit about the 30th anniversary of Monday Night Raw. I will give predictions. I will give some opinions on everything. So stay tuned for that, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.